Hello everyone, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. In today's video, we're gonna use several skills like cloud engineering, network engineering, part of cybersecurity, IAM, which is the access management specifically for privileged users. We will also use scripting language, which is called PowerShell or SSH, Secure Shell Protocol. So we will create an instance on the cloud and then we will access it through SSH. So using Secure Shell Protocol scripting language, we will create a privileged user who will have access to the infrastructure through Cloud Console, even if we lose the keys to access the instances through SSH. We will also install a firewall and set up the rules for firewall to make the instance securer. We will open a few ports on the network level as well and create some Ingress rules to define the access for people and for other IPs or for specific IPs. We will then install a panel, a kind of cloud panel, to access the instances through a platform, and then we can use this instance to deploy our apps or create an email server. For this particular video, I will be creating an email server because I need to create one, and I decided to record this so that it can help other people. Since I am creating an email server, I would also be creating a few records on DNS level using Cloudflare. That's the domain DNS. It actually helps us prevent spam and the attacks that can actually be prevented on the DNS level. So let's get started. To get started, open your cloud infrastructure and select the region where you would like to create a VM instance. Click on Create a VM instance. Here, name your instance. I name it OCI GVM. You can definitely name it anything. When it comes to shapes, I go for Ubuntu because I would be running an SMTP server, so for me I need 22.04. This is actually the operating system, so if you can see that we have a lot of options to choose from. You can choose Linux, Ubuntu, Windows or anything, and I go for Ubuntu for this one. And this is the processor of your machine, so you choose here which processor do you need. For me, I need Ampere, and here you can set up your machine's OCPUs and the amount of memory, the RAM that you require for this machine, and click on Select Shape. This is your VNIC name. I name it the same as my machine, and I will assign another IP later on, but for now I go for the IP before. Save your SSH keys because you need this to access your machine, to install the firewall and everything. Here I don't have a boot volume before, so I go for in transit option. That's by default, and I wouldn't like to attach any block volume to it, so just go ahead and click on Create. Now this will take some time before our instance can start running. It's still provisioning the instance, and I will see you after some time once it's running. So the instance is running now, and here is the IP address that's assigned to this machine, and this is the username. So you copy your IP address, or first you go to your terminal. I use PuTTY for I use Terminus for SSH access. You can use PuTTY or anything. Go to keychain and bring your key that you downloaded, bring it here. Key, and you need to bring the one with key. That's your private key, and this is and now go to the hosts and create a new host. This is the IP address. You copy the IP address from here and bring it here. I label it as per my machine's name so that I don't forget it later on. Here is the username. This is the username. You can copy from here. And when it comes to passwords, use the keys that we just created. So I click on keys, and here is the option to select the key. So I choose my key and click on connect. So now here I am actually accessing my VM through SSH. First thing first, go to the root mode and create a new root user. It's because, as you know, we have the access keys that we just downloaded, but sometimes you need the password and not the keys. But by default, Ubuntu doesn't give you a password, so you have to always create a new user. So you say add user, and here should be the username that you want to create. Okay, so it asks for a password for this new user, and choose any password. It doesn't show you the password here, but it's already typed. It's because of the security reasons. And it says retype. I retype the password. Okay, so password has been updated successfully. It asks for the name of the user, whatever you would like to fill in, you can fill in, and the rest of the things you can just skip. And that's it. Is all the information correct? I say yes. And that's it. Now the user has been created, but we would like to make this user a root user to run the sudo commands to access the machine from SSH as well as from PowerShell. PowerShell is our second option in case when we can't access the machine from SSH due to some firewall issues or something. We go to our cloud console and we can access the machine from here. So if you go here to the console connection, you can always access the machine from here, even if you are not able to access the machine from the SSH. To access from here, it must have the root access. To make it a sudo user, we need to run this command usermod-ag sudo and then the username that we just created. Click enter. So now it's the sudo user. We can try to test it if it works. To test it, run the command sudo and the username, and it works. It asks for password. Type your password and click enter, and okay, so the user is working now. Sudo. Right, now is the time to install the firewall to make our instance secure. So we check the firewall status, sudo ufw status, and it says that it's inactive, so we need to install the firewall. You can always do sudo ufw enable to enable it, to enable the firewall, and say yes. Firewall is active and enabled on the system startup. So once I restart the system, it will enable. But before restarting, I must make sure that I can access my machine again. So I need to add a few rules to this firewall to allow my access. So I need to write a code sudo ufw allow from my own IP address to any port 22. 22 is the port that I use to access my machine through SSH, and I go here and tell the firewall. The rule is added, so now I can also allow access for port 80, which is HTTP port. Go back and rule added. I also need 443, which is HTTPS, and I add the rule. Now if I check sudo ufw status, it will show me the current status, like port 22 is open for this IP, port 80 is open, and port 443 is also open. Now before restarting it and before doing anything else, I would like to install a panel to also access my machine through a panel instead of always using the command line. So the first thing I would do is to update the system. Okay, so to update my system, I copy, this is Ubuntu, so I copy this command and update and upgrade my system. It will take some time before updating it, and I'll be back after some time. While updating the system, you might see some pop-ups like this. Just say OK, because it's asking you what to update, and just say to update whatever it finds or whatever is not updated. Now the system has already been updated. Okay, and now it's time to install the cloud panel. So this is for Ubuntu. Okay, so here it asks you if it should install or not. Say 1, that is okay. Please install. And then it gives you three options to install the cyber panel with Open Lightspeed server or Lightspeed Enterprise, or just exit. For this particular video I go for option 1, but if you're already a paid member of Lightspeed Enterprise, you can choose the second option. So I choose the first option, and here it says full installation. I say yes, I definitely need the full one because I will also be using the email function. For the remote MySQL, I say no, I don't need it, and just press enter again. It says, would you wish to install memcached? Yes, that's for caching to make it a bit more faster. Says, do I need to install Redis? Yeah, I want to. It says if I want to kill the watchdog. No, I don't want to kill it, so I leave it yes. The watchdog actually is a spam filter like a thing, so it catches all the spam, not all but most of the spam, to help us protect the server. It is now installing the panel. It will take about 20 minutes and I will be back then after 20 minutes. And once it has already installed the panel, you need to reboot your machine, and you can access it once it reboots. Once the machine is rebooted and starts working again, you need to go and copy your IP address and port number 8090. Hit enter. It will show you this page. Don't worry about it because I still need to install SSL, and that's the reason it's showing this. Just click advance and proceed. Right, so we have successfully installed the cloud panel on machine, and it's now it's like a platform as a service where we can create email addresses and even can host applications, but I always like to keep the applications on a different server and emails on a different server for security reasons. We can log in here with the default username and password that our machine gives us during the installation, and click sign in. Okay, so this is the panel to start creating databases or websites and set up DNS, install SSL and PHP and everything. So here you can see the setup wizard. Click on this and start the setup wizard. My host name would be mail.amadin.com. So you write your host name and click on start configurations. It will take some time and I'll be right back. Okay, so here if you notice that it gives me an error saying that domain that you have provided is not configured as rDNS for your server IP address. So this IP address must be present in my domain settings. So my domain is here. I go to records and change the IP address, or I just go back and change my IP address of my server. So I can go here, and this is my instance, and I go to attached VNIC, click on VNIC. Here is the IP addresses that are associated with this instance. Go to edit, and please note that at first I need to do no IP address and click update, and then I edit again and choose a reserved IP which is already in my DNS. Otherwise, the second option is to change the DNS records, whatever you like, and update. These are my reserved IPs, so I chose one of the reserved IPs. Now the IP here has been changed. It doesn't remain the same, it's different now, so I must change it. Click advance. In this ID and password you get from your terminus while you install your machine, your OS. Okay. Start configuration. Okay, so once it's successfully completed, you should see this completed 200, and then you can restart the cyber panel. You see here it was a success. Now it says to refresh, but don't refresh your page, because if you refresh it, it will go back to your IP, but we would like to access it through the host name. So you also need to make sure that you have configured your network properly. To ensure that, go to your instance, or you can directly also go to networking and go to your VCN in subnet. In the subnet, in your default security list, you will have Ingress rules. If you don't have, you haven't created before, then you need to create the Ingress rules for your network to allow access to few ports. For instance, I opened port 22 to access it through SSH scripting, and I also allowed access to other ports like 80 is for the HTTP, 443 for HTTPS, for FTP, and for mail. This is very important if you are using your VM as a mail server. So you need to open all of these ports on your server in your networking. In case, for instance, I already have opened because I already use my cloud infrastructure, but in case if you notice that any of the ports are not open, you can just go here and add an Ingress rule. I usually don't like to add it for everyone. This means that you're allowing access for everyone. You can also allow access only for your IP, for instance, this way, but because I'm still in the process of setting up, so I allow access to everything for now, but later I can always change it so that others don't have access, or bots or scammers, hackers don't have access to my ports on the server. So you can always open ports like this, TCP or UCP, whichever protocol you want to use. And here you can mention any port. For example, I already have opened this, but only for to let you know how to do that. And here you can always write a description. For instance, this port is for HTTP, and I can add Ingress rule, and it will add the rules to my cloud networking. You also need to make sure that this is actually kind of firewall that you're creating. It's like the access that you are allowing certain IPs or everyone to access these ports. So for instance, HTTP and HTTPS must be accessible by everyone, but the other ports you can always decide who should access those. There is another layer of the same access things that you need to configure in your DNS provider. For me, the DNS provider is Cloudflare. So I go here and I add a few rules, some records, for instance MX for email, and this is my email server. And I also, for example, if I want to create a website on the same server, different server, you can always change the IPs and add these records. Some of these records are to prevent spam. For instance, the DKIM, DMARC, and SPF records, they are all to prevent spam from your server. So you can always add these in. I already have this because I already work on the system, but in case if you want to add a record, it's very simple. Click on add record and you can always add here you can always add any kind of record. This A is for IPv4 and this is for IPv6, and the same way you have CNAME and MX and all the records that you can create. For some panels, some cloud panels, for instance for cyber panel, the proxy status has to be disabled. It's because it does not support the port 8090. Once you set up all of these things and you set up your firewall in your SSH, you can go here and write your mail server with the port name and click enter. So this way you have already created or installed a panel, an interface, a platform where you can access your cloud instances. Now because I made this server to send and receive emails, I will be letting you know how to do that. You need to go to websites and add the website or the domain for which you would like to receive emails. And once you have added that, you come to emails and create an email. Choose your domain name and a username for your email. So you only need to type the first part and then you see here the second part, and here you choose a password and click create. It has already been successfully created. Now to access this, you go to your webmail. This is the basic webmail that you can use. You can always install the other ones that are better than this, but this is just the basic one. So you go here and write the email address that you just created, the password as well. And click sign in. You have signed into your new mailbox. From here you can test to send an email. And click send. You can go to your sent items to see, and the mail should be here in your sent items. Now if you go back to check this email to where you have sent it, and you will notice that here you have already received this email, and you can reply and go back here, refresh your page. It might take some time to receive the email. Yeah, okay, so you already have received this email, and the mail server is working now. You can always go and add more email addresses from here, list email, and you can always add more domains for which you would like to receive emails from here. And there are a lot of other things that can be done here, but I would explain that in a different video. Yay, so we've already created an email server that works. In case if you'd like to know how to deploy your apps or databases on the cloud, or if you would like to know more about cybersecurity, business continuity, or change management, please watch my other videos. And in case if you have any questions, suggestions, feedback, or requirements, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.